We are live.
There we go. Hello, everybody there already. We got names already. Lunar
Sweet.
JMR. We got Chris. We're talking Mopars, Dutch guys, unfinished projects. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Hello.
So, well, we'll wait a little bit for some folks to get in here. I can't see how many people are here because I did not open a browser.
Oh, yeah. I typically
that part.
I'll usually turn the volume off on my phone and then I'll just go on here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So whoever is here tonight, thank you for coming. This is pretty special for me and the Jacoby to have a guest like Jonny here.
Woo.
And we're going to find out who you are tonight, Jonny.
All right.
The people are going to know now.
Looks like you got 3 people in there.
Okay. So we'll give it a little bit. I myself is doing good. A little tired, working hard today, Lunar. So,
What's up, Lunar?
What's up, Dutch? Mr. Pink.
Unfinished project.
Unfinished projects. There's Colleen. Hello, Colleen Tebow. All right. We can always count on Colleen to show up for our lives. She's in everybody's lives. That's cool.
Oh.
She supports the group. Keep me entertained in this traffic. Turn the volume up. We're going to play some good Jonny Mopar music for you. Well, you know, while we're waiting for people to come in, there's Ruben. Yo!
Ruben!
So, Jonny, you're from Southern California. Have you always been in Southern California? Were you born somewhere else?
I was born in Northern California. We moved to Southern California when I was about 5 years old.
Oh, geez. There goes the phone. What do you know? It's that time. You know, and I just saw Mr. Will's going live, too. And if he hears anything, sorry, Mr. Will. We planned on doing this Tuesday night, but we had a power outage, and it kind of messed us up as far as getting our live out. So we had to reschedule for another time. Yep. So what part of Northern California?
It's called North Highlands. I know it's next to an Air Force base. I can't remember what it's called at the moment, but yeah, my dad's from up there, and then my mom's from down here in Southern California, and he came down for a job, and then that's when he met my mom, got married, then moved back up to Northern California when I was born. Like I said, I was there till I was about 5, and then moved back down to Southern California. So, yeah. Well, I could tell more, but it might get into some of the questions you're going to ask.
Oh,
so,
well. No, that's cool. That's cool. Tony's Hot Rod Garage. Hello, buddy.
What's up, Tony?
I was born in Northern California also, and then Dad transplanted to San Diego. He was in the Navy.
Gotcha. Yep. Big Navy town down there.
Yeah. And I was born in Hayward. I guess there's a Navy facility out there somewhere.
Okay.
And I don't remember ever Hayward. I remember always San Diego. We moved to El Cajon is where we moved to.
Okay.
Well,
so there's sort of stock Mopars. Jeremy in the house.
Cool. Go Navy.
Yeah, go Navy. Yeah, he's a good Navy guy. He's still in the Navy, isn't he?
I believe so.
Jeremy? Yeah, I think he is.
I think I don't think he's like full on. I think he's. I don't know.
What do you call that when you serve kind of part time? They call that I don't know.
I think it's full time, but I don't. He's not on a boat anyway.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So there's the Coast Guard getting a little.
Yeah, why does the Coast Guard exist? Because the Navy needs a hero.
All right. How many we got in there so far, Jonny?
We have 12.
12. Well, let's get started then.
All right.
All right then.
So, Johnny, we all, I met you. There's the whiff right there. Hello, Alicia. That's Mama.
Hello,
Uh-huh.
Mama.
I met you finally at the duct tape drags. And, we watch on your videos and we get to check out what cars you got and that kind of stuff, but it's not personal enough. So we'll get a little more personal. We won't pry though. How's that?
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
what do you do outside of tinkering on cars? I know you're a dad. I know you're a husband.
Yep. Well, for work, I used to work for a medical device company as a technician. Done stuff from R&D to line support, maintenance. My last gig was doing kind of like technical writing. So it's very heavily FDA regulated. So we have a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation and testing and that kind of stuff. So what I was doing was we'd get equipment in and I'd have to build all the documentation for it, how to test it and, basically that everything that we need to document for it to validate it and use it in that field. So that's what I did. It's
Sounds interesting.
it has been. It has been interesting over the years. It's been cool. There's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but I wouldn't say I'm passionate about it.
Yeah. Not like you are about cars and Mopars.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, met some interesting people, that's for sure. There's a guy I worked with, Dan Mullins. He's one of those whiz kids, just super, super smart. And he worked where I worked, and he's a little older than I am, but he said I think he did it when he was in college. I don't know if it was a job or internship or something, but he worked at Keith Black, which is that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And he says he's got an engine. He's got a Keith Black engine. This is many years ago. He told me this, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know how he got the engine. Maybe he got it in pay or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Keith Black did more than them big Hemis, but that was what he was famous for.
Right.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so forget about work. What about is there anything else you do? Do you ride motorcycles? You just do hiking? Or you mentor people? You do anything like that?
Well, biggest thing we do is we go camping. We go out to Akatia Wells a lot.
Nice. Love Akatia Wells.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there. If you like the desert, it's beautiful. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, me and my friends used to go out there dirt bike riding all the time, camping and stuff. And then, once I met with my wife and she's got 2 girls and we would go camping, we got quads. So I went from dirt bikes to quads, slowed down a little bit, but they're still fast, Right. And then just recently we just bought a side-by-side. So we sold all the quads off and we got the side-by-side so we can all ride in that. So it's pretty
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
It does sound cool.
That. My wife wants one of those. She's going to force me to get one.
Dude, they're awesome.
We need one for sure. We need one.
Yeah. See, there you go. Two against one.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot. No, I'd definitely love to have one of those too.
Yeah.
You're right.
They're a blast.
You're right, that'd be life.
We just got it not that long ago, so we've only been out with it twice. Once at Ocotillo, and once we went up to Mammoth Mountain summertime. Dude, it's beautiful up there.
Oh yeah.
Well,
we're gonna need to head back down there.
Yeah, you should just check it out. It's amazing because it doesn't look like California. It's very mountainous and it's very green, and there's not a lot of human beings, and it's like, wow, it's really cool. It's really
How's
cool.
Big Bear Lake doing? Is it doing all like the rest of California's lakes, kind of kind of
I
drying
haven't
up a little bit?
I haven't heard anything. I haven't been up there, so I don't know.
Yeah. I love that place. I've been up there a few times to visit. I got a friend of mine I went to high school that owns a house up there in Big
Oh,
Bear.
nice.
We've
Yeah,
been that way a
the
few times.
guy at where I used to work has a place up, or he had a place up there. That's kind of the nice thing about where I live. You could probably relate to this too, where you live, but it's like within an hour, you're pretty much away. You're an hour away from everything. So you want to go to the beach, it's an hour away. San
Yeah.
Diego, hour away. If you want to go up to like Big Bear, and that's an hour away, so you go skiing. I mean, it's a really good spot as far as being close to everything and having a big variety of things to do.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was great about that place. You had football, you had baseball, if you like sports. That we
Right.
had for a while, we had some good racing going on out there between drag strips. Used to have Lions. They were racing at California Speedway, the drag racing and the roundy round. There was a lot
Yeah,
of now. So yeah, it is cool.
actually, we moved out here. We lived in LA originally, or we moved to LA originally when we came to Southern California, and then we moved out here in '86. So, and where my parents live, they're kind of on a higher elevation. So, when we first moved out here, you could see. I shouldn't say you could see. You can hear Riverside Raceway. You could hear the NASCAR cars racing. It's pretty cool. It's amazing sound would travel that far, because it's probably 20 miles away,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but loud as hell. It
How
was
about how
awesome.
far back? What would you say the year was that you guys moved out?
Moved out to here
Yeah.
or to this
No, I
area.
mean to Southern California with your dad, with your folks.
Oh, that would have been 1977.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because about 74 or something, they tore down Ontario Motor Speedway, which is right there too, right off the 10.
Okay.
Right. I think it was the 10, could be the 60. I can't remember nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I always loved it when my aunt and uncle lived close to a racetrack and we'd go visit, just listen to them things screaming in the background.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was great. We'd go sneak a peek through the fence every once in a while.
Yeah, we did that too. We went to the races one time. I want to say a year or two later, they closed the track down and started tearing it up for a mall. So there's a mall there now. But
Yeah, Riverside International.
yeah,
Yeah. I actually ran go-karts on that track once.
that's crazy. That's
It was
Oh,
awesome.
that's cool.
It was pretty fun. It was about
Yeah,
105 miles an hour.
yeah. And then
So
I never went to Terminal Island, but they were still racing at Terminal Island. My friend Ted, he's older gentleman. He would go out there all the time. And then Carlsbad was still going at that time. I went to
yeah,
Carlsbad one time. He invited me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to go." So I went with him. It was awesome because he's Ted Evans and his brother Ed. They basically had like a fab shop, and they would, do car fabrication. They were Mopar guys. They'd always joke around because this would have been in the '90s, so they always joked around and they called primer Mopar gray because they
yeah.
said they said none of the Mopar guys had money. So he's like, yeah, a guy comes in and wants his 56 Chevy, tubbed and caged and all this work done to it, and they just write a check. How much? And he says, you know, he'd give them a quote and they'd just write a check and go, there you go. And he says a Mopar guy would come in and go, I want this work, and this work. How much? And he'd give him a quote, and then they would go, oh, let's just do the one thing then. But it's true. We were always broke.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
was it. That's the way I don't know. I'm going to say it this way because I hear it all the time about people talking about how expensive Mopars are. The hobby is expensive. But I'll tell you what,
yeah.
you get your hands on a good Mopar and you got something fast. You don't have to spend a ton of money after that to go. So I don't know about that. There's an initial expense with a Mopar maybe, but
Yeah.
The parts are great in those engines. Sorry. But
Uh,
anyway, yeah, that's
uh,
cool.
So Tony, I am in Wildemar. I live in Wildemar, California. It would be just north of Temecula, California, just south of Elsinore. We're like right next door to Elsinore, between Murrieta and Elsinore.
Yeah, Marina Valley's a little bit more north, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more north.
Yeah.
We're on the 15 freeway side, and Moreno Valley's on the 215 side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of V's. Temecula, it splits, and then it just sort of the distance grows apart. Then when you start heading up towards what would that area be called? Start going up, like towards Hesperia, the two freeways come back together. It's kind of funny, but
So, what do you collect, Johnny? You got Hot Wheels? You got puppets? What do you got? What do you
I
got?
do. Well, see, I even have one laying right here. See a little M2 Super B.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I do collect though. I like the M2s because they have a little more detail than the Hot Wheel cars, but I have Hot Wheels. I have a bunch of stuff. I went through a big phase of, just collecting little die cast. I love the 124 or 164s, I mean, because they don't take so much space.
Yeah.
And then I think 2017, that whole year, I got wrapped up in doing custom cars. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that, but
Yeah.
it was kind of fun. We'd, take like a regular Hot Wheel car and then put cool wheels on it and lower it, put a big engine in it or whatever, did a lot of cool stuff like that. So that was kind of fun, but it takes a lot of time. And that whole year it was like I'm not getting anything done on the old school car, so I had to hang it up. So but, do you want to go through the comments real quick?
Sure.
Ruben says he's only in $20K into his car and parts. No, he didn't say only. He says I'm $20K into my car and parts.
Yeah.
Cheap is fun, no stress.
Dutch Guy's Garage
Tony.
said I'm 150K into the whole collection, but it's spread over 17 vehicles.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a group of them.
Yeah.
That's a litter.
Right? Tony's sister has a horse ranch in Romaland. Well, Tony, I used to live in Romaland before we moved here, actually. And if you know the General Mayhem story, I was in that house when Freiberger came to get the car, which I know John's going to talk about later or ask about later, right?
Yes. So shut up.
Oh, right.
Quiet.
You got to hook them, man. You got to get them, throw the line out there and start reeling them in.
Yep. So do you still have your 70 Coronet wagon?
Yes, I do. I haven't touched it. Well, I'd like to put a 440 back in it. My buddy had a 440 in it when he was driving it. My buddy John Jones. Yeah, that car. I've known that car for probably over 20 years. I've known John over 20 years, but how I met him, I was selling a 69 Dart for $500, and it was just a 318 car. And he came over in that Coronet, and he's like me. He likes his car slammed to the ground. And that car was just on the ground with some nice big meats in the back. 440 rumbling pulls in, and I was just like, my jaw hit the floor. I was in love instantly. It's like, man, that is so badass. So I would put it back. I would lower it down, make it a daily driver, put a 440 in it. So it's not going to be a, quarter mile pounder or anything like that. It'd just be a cruiser. So
that thing's cool. I think that's definitely a car that I think most people want one. They won't admit it though.
Yeah. Well, for so long they were parts cars, right? I mean, It's like that's a Super B front clip on it, or Coronet RT, and then B body parts. I mean, it's got everything a regular B body has, except a couple of extra doors and a long roof line.
I hear too that that's the Superbird fenders,
Yes.
and people, I guess that's a big deal. Everybody I talk to that's got one complains about the fact that those front fenders are super expensive because it's such a demand for them, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know the production numbers, but I don't think the 70 is as high as the 68s and 9s. So they
Yeah.
already didn't make a lot of them,
Yeah.
So
All right, well, let's get back to this.
all right.
You like music?
Yeah, I like music. I like a lot of everything. So I'm a big hip hop fan like you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you're not a hip hop fan.
No, I'm not a hip hop fan.
But I do like old school hip hop. But my favorite stuff, I love 70s music, classic rock, like some Hendrix, some Led Zeppelin, that kind of stuff.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. That stuff, I tell you what, man, if I'm stressed and I put that stuff on, just chills me out. I mean, I could just totally relax and immerse myself in that music. That music is timeless, and I don't know if it's because as a kid I grew up with that music around, and it just takes me back to my childhood, and it's a more relaxing time than the adulthood, but it always makes me feel better. And then I love 90s music. That was kind of my era, so pretty much all the rock you hear from then, System of the Down, Metallica, Rage Against the Machine. Like, I love that stuff. So
that is awesome. System of the Down, I'm into that a little bit.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So give us some sports. Any favorite sports?
Not racing, really.
Obviously, I would think, right?
Huh?
Auto racing, maybe.
I mean, I would say, I don't know if you would call it a sport, but I love watching Street Outlaws. That's pretty much the only thing I kind of pay attention to.
That's a sport.
Yeah. I've gone to the drags, gone to the Winter Nationals, Winston Finals, at Pomona. I haven't gone in a long time, but I don't follow it. I don't watch every race through the season, and I don't necessarily have a particular fan I like. If it's a Mopar, then I like Pro Stock the best. Yeah. And if it's a Mopar, I like that car, whoever's driving it, But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Pomona was, I've been to Pomona a ton. We used to do, we do the winter and summer, and got lucky a few times to meet a few of them people and get some free tickets. That always helps to go.
Yeah.
And then being such a big train geek, they got that big giant, Rail Giants Museum is right there in the parking lot.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, on the be the south end of the parking lot. But yeah, that's a pretty cool place. I love Pomona. The LA County Fairgrounds now, right? Like that's what they call it.
What is it?
I think they call it the LA County Fairgrounds now.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Still call it Pomona, but and you've probably gone to the Pomona car show and swap meet too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That used to be fun. I haven't gone in a while. The last couple of times, it's not really good for Mopars. It's more like Chevy stuff. There's a Volkswagen section.
Yeah, big Volkswagen section. Yep.
Yeah.
That's where I got my distributor machine. Was at
really?
Swap meet.
Oh,
I
cool.
Paid $25 for it. It's back in the day when nobody wanted it. It was nobody
outdated.
Cared. And if you've seen on the videos, the pair of long rams that are on the wall, that came from Pomona too.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
And I bought a 6-pack manifold, carburetors and everything for a 440 with the cast iron intake manifold from Pomona.
Wow.
It was there was, they kind of sectioned you had the GM stuff or the Chevy stuff, and then they would have all the, the Mopar, Oldsmobile, they were all mixed up.
Yeah, everybody else.
Yeah, we would just run aisle to aisle to aisle to aisle, go through everything we could see and kind of take note of where everything was, unless it was something we had to have. We didn't stop. And then we would come back to those and then try to deal with the people. That's how we did it. But that was a great place.
Yeah.
Super good place.
Definitely.
So let's get back to you, Johnny. So your parents like cars?
Yeah. I mean, my dad's a mechanic. He's retired now. And, I don't know that my mom is like a car person per se, but, she's got a 72 Dodge Charger, which I'm working on. That basically I grew up in that car. So it's
How
kind
awesome is that?
Yeah, I'm excited to get that back to her. But, it's, she drove that car my whole life pretty much,
Yeah.
So she bought it. It's a 72. She bought it when I was 3 years old. So it was in 75. She bought it as a used car, 318 2-barrel. But yeah, she drove the wheels off that thing. She drove it all the way up into the 2000s until the motor just got so tired, it was just done. So
that's awesome, though.
Yeah,
so she's some kind of a car person, because you don't want to drive an old 72 car if you're not.
Yeah, no, she loves that car. She's like, I'm gonna make you part owner of the car, so it's our car, but it's her car.
So is that where you got your love for cars? Was from your parents, or?
I would say, for me, to be honest, I think it started with the Dukes of Hazzard. I used to love the Dukes of Hazzard as a kid. So Friday night, 8 p.m., we're out in the streets playing, and if it was 8 o'clock, I was gone. I had to go watch the Dukes of Hazzard, so I'd run home, go watch the Dukes of Hazzard, and, you're pretty much done for the rest of the night at that point. But that's what started it all. And then my dad, so when we moved down here in 1977, before that, he had a 68 Dodge Charger, 444 speed Dana car, and it was Charger Red, which is a spring color only. It's kind of more of an orangey color, I don't remember it as a kid, but there's pictures of my mom and I in the backyard and the car sitting there in the background, So, but when we moved to Southern California, we lived with my grandfather on my mom's side for about a year until they saved up enough money to buy a house, put a down payment on a house. And then shortly after there, so it was about 1982 or so, my dad went on the hunt to go buy a Charger to replace the one he'd lost. So he bought that blue 68 Charger and drug it home. And I can still remember the day we went to go get it. Like, I remember it didn't have a motor in it. We went there. My dad's looking at the car. We were sitting in the pickup truck or whatever. And then, he's like, I want to think about it or whatever. So, by the way, he sold the orange 68 for $300 before we moved down to Southern California. $300. And then the blue one he paid $300 for. It had RT stripes on it and RT badges on it. But we always thought it was an RT. That later when I started getting older and getting into like the VIN tag and figuring out what engine it came with and stuff, there was actually I should back up, because I'd go dirt bike riding through the hills where we lived, and I stumbled on this guy that had 3 Chargers in there. I think there was 2 69s and a 68, and 2 of them were RTs. And I'd see it all the time. And finally, and I didn't have any money. I was still in high school. I didn't have a job or anything, But I stopped one time and I asked if they were for sale, and it was the parents of the guy, and so they had to call him. And when I called him, he goes, "Oh man, I just sold him a week ago. The guy just hasn't picked him up yet." And I'm like, "Oh man." I mean, probably couldn't afford them, but
Yeah.
we were talking on the phone, and I told him about my dad's blue car, how it was an RT. I said it was a 383 RT, and he goes, "No, they didn't put 383s in RT cars." And I'm like, he goes, the VIN tag's got to say L for 440 if it's a 440 car. And I was like, man, I swear it's an RT, you know? And then, so after that conversation, I went back to the VIN, I looked it up, and it's an XP29, not an XS29, you know? And it's like, oh, this car is not an RT. So all these years we thought it was an RT. But, you know, back in those days, nobody looked at that stuff. You saw the car, and if it had stripes and badges, it was an RT, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
So
not a real RT.
We're on the subject of Chargers now. So for those that know Johnny already know this, but for those that are going to see this that don't know Johnny, everybody sees the what's the name of the show? Darn it,
Roadkill.
Roadkill. Okay,
Okay.
so anybody that's not seen sees Roadkill Garage is eventually going to run into seeing the Charger that's on there, General Mayhem. And Johnny, you're part of that car, so tell us about that.
So when I lived in Roma Land, my buddy John Jones, actually, John Jones had a shop out in Riverside. So I'm at his place. I met John Jones, like I told you. I sold him that Dart, and I asked him what he did, and he says he paints cars and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I've got all these cars, but I didn't know. I met him. He showed me some work that he had done to other customers' cars, but I didn't quite trust him yet for a Charger. So I gave him my 68 Coronet to paint. So John did the body work, painted my 68 Coronet. And I'd known John, visited him a bunch of times. I've been to his place, I don't know, hundreds of times. And then one day we're walking through there, and he had these weird container type things. They were just these metal boxes that he had made. And they were like, I don't know, just about 4 feet high or so, you know? And I can't remember if I asked about him or he just started talking about him, but he had cars in them. And I was like, what? There's a car in there? And he goes, yeah. So he had 2 of these pods, and he had chargers inside these pods. So he opened it up and showed me, and sure enough, there's 68 Charger. And I'm like, what the hell? And I was like, all this time, and I didn't even know he had these cars, you know? And anyway, we got to talking. I asked if they were for sale or if he'd ever sell them. He sold me one that was pretty rough. It had a rusty roof, and it had a rusty trunk floor, and a missing front clip and stuff. And I think he sold it to me for like $300 or $500 or something like that. It was just a 318 car. And then the other pod had the other car, which was end up being General Mayhem. It was in similar condition. It was missing everything. You know, it was missing. There's no drivetrain, no interior, no front clip, no deck lid. Like, it was literally a body with doors, and it had 8 3/4 under the back. It was a roller, but like I think even the brakes were stripped off of it, and it would just roll. That was it. So he liked 69s more than he liked 68s. And at that time, I happened to pick up this 69 that was really rough too. And so I offered to trade him, and he did the trade. So that the second 68 I drug home was what was General Mayhem. Started working on the car. It had a big crease in the passenger side quarter panel just behind the door. And I cut the inner structure out to put a porter power in there to push it out, and hammered and dollied it. And I put, like, I don't know, a couple hundred, those little nails, like you put a nail gun on it, you know, and then you put a slide hammer on it, and then you break it off. I put tons of those things on that car, and it came out pretty decent. Like, I did a good job. I'm no body guy, but I did a good job. I was impressed with myself, but it was a ton of work to get it that far. And I started asking myself, like, why am I even messing with this car? This car needs everything. And at the time, I think I had 6 Chargers at the time, and all of them except that rusty roof one was in better condition than this car. So I'm like, I don't know why I'm even messing with this car. I should be not wasting my time on it. I should focus on one of my other cars, right? So I threw it up there for sale. I think I started at like 2,800 or 3,000 or something like that, you know. And when I took pictures of it, it looked so horrible. You couldn't even really tell it was a Charger because the whole front clip was gone, right? So I ended up, this guy that would go from the Midwest out here, he would pick up cars and rust-free stuff, you know, and take them back. And he wanted the rusty roofs Charger. So I sold it to him for like $600. So I doubled my money potentially. I don't remember what I paid exactly, but before I gave it to him, I kept the fender off of it. It was missing one fender. I kept the fender. It had a blue hood on it. I kept that. I kept a few little knick-knack parts off of it. Well, the 68 that I just put up for sale looked horrible. It was like red and blue and primer, and it was like had all kinds of colors on it. So the first thing I did was I took all the black rattle cans I had and I sprayed it on the car to make it one color. So there was like gloss black, matte black, satin black, primer black, like everything, every can I had, I put on the car. And then I'm going to take pictures and it's like, it still looks like hell because you can't tell it's a Charger because the front clip's missing. So I had that red fender from the red car and I hung it on the car. And I was like, okay, from this angle, from the side view, it looks like a Charger.
Yeah.
But if you're standing in the front with no hood on it, you know, with an empty engine bay and stuff, it still looked like hell. So the blue Charger, when my dad bought that car, they had cut the hood and put one of those snorkel pro stock style scoops, you know, the old school ones.
Yeah.
They had put that on there and he didn't like it. So he took that hood off and we went to the boneyard. He put a green hood on the car. And so that hood, I always bugged him that I wanted it and he gave it to me. So that was like my very first piece because my only goal in life as a kid was to own a Charger, a second gen Charger someday. So that was my first step.
You had the love of the General Lee already. So now you gotta get you one.
It did. Yeah. So when he drug the blue one home, it was like, even though it wasn't a 69, it was like, I remember sitting in the car. It was parked. He parked it out in the street, you know. And I remember sitting in the car pretending like I'm Bo Duke driving, you know. So, but so anyway, that blue hood, the plastic scoop had broke over the years, and then that blue hood was sitting there. I think I had 2 or 3 spare hoods, but I was like, I didn't want to put a good hood on the car because I wanted to keep those hoods for myself, you know. That hood had a hole cut into it. So I was like, I'll throw that hood on the car. Well, that's the blue hood original to my dad's blue Charger.
Okay.
So I threw that on the car. And so if you were standing on the passenger side, or no, the driver's side, is it the driver's side? Driver's side, you know, with the hood on there and the fender on there, it looked like a complete Charger now, you know. But I ran out of black primer, so I couldn't match the hood and fender to the rest of the car. And I wasn't going to go spend money on rattle cans, you know, so I just left it. And then, man, every Tom, Dick, and Harry called on the car or emailed me, and there's all dreamers, you know, nobody had any money. They all would call me and tell me what they wanted to do with the car and waste my time. It's like, God, this is getting frustrating, you know? So I kept dropping the price. So whatever, 3,000 or 2,800, I drop it down a couple $100 and then another couple $100. I think I got down to $2,400 or something like that. And then Freiberger shot me an email and he said, would you be interested in trading for a set of aluminum heads, Mopar aluminum heads, brand new in the box? And I was like, So I looked them up. Back then, Edelbrock RPM heads were, I think they were like $1,300 or so. These heads, because they had Mopar engraved on the end, they were about $1,800. But they're basically the equivalent to I think they are Edelbrock RPM heads, and Mopar just had them, engrave the end to put Mopar on it, but I don't know that for sure. So I figured, I think in my head I was already anticipating my bottom line price was $1,800, back then. So when he offered the heads, I said I'd think about it, and I looked them up, and I was like, all right, I'll do the deal. So I shot him back, and he came out to look at the car, and he's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff missing, and I'm like, yeah. But he wasn't worried about it because he wanted to build it into like a NASCAR clone car. So it would, he didn't need any interior in it, didn't need all the little pieces. It was like, we're going to make it into a NASCAR clone street car. And it's like, okay, cool. This was before Roadkill, by the way. So, and I should add, when he messaged me the first time, he was like, yeah, I'm David Freiberger, hot rod editor, Hot Rod magazine or whatever. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't care who you are. Like, I'm not gonna lower the price just because you're some Hot Rod magazine guy, big shot,
Yeah.
But he was probably famous back then in some circles, but he wasn't as famous as he is now,
Yeah.
Was
he cool?
Oh yeah, he's totally cool. Dude, he's exactly the same, like t-shirt, shorts, flip-flops. He came out, looked at the car, we talked, and he's telling me what he wants to do with the car and stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. So he sent a guy out, like his buddy or something, with a trailer, I think a week later. And that guy brought the heads to me and then took the car. So, and then it, was gone. And then my friend Anthony Spriggs that I've met, like, through social media stuff. I think Car Domain was where we had met. And then Facebook came around and he was on there a lot. It took me a while to kind of get onto Facebook, but then and then YouTube came around and he was like, dude, I think your car, because I probably had pictures of it on Car Domain or something. And he's like, I think your car's on this channel, this TV show on YouTube called Roadkill. And I think it's your car. And I'm like, really? So I looked it up and I was like, sure shit, there's my car.
Yeah.
It was funny because, most of the time, like if Chip Foose had got the car and restored it, you'd never know it was your car, right? Because it looks completely done and different.
Right.
But they didn't do any of that. They left it exactly how I gave it to them, black primer, red fender, blue hood. They added a 69 fender to the other side, and then they made their own Hemi scoop out of sheet metal from that Fury that they cut up, and then dropped that motorhome 440 in it and stuff. So, yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I heard him call your name when we were at Duct Tape.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, so I brought the Belvedere out, and I almost didn't do the Hoopty Challenge, and because I kind of lost track of time, and my wife and kid were in the stands watching. They do the 3K challenge where it's like they're basically bagging on your car as it comes up, and if it's a piece of junk and it's worth less than $3,000, you're in, and if it's worth more, then you're out. And so Jeremy actually was texting me and he's like, dude, there's still time, get over here, and so I'm like, all right. So I brought the car around, and yeah, he recognized me, and he didn't even, I was sweating it because we had the nitrous kit on the car, but we never ran it, and I didn't have a bottle in it. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to explain to him that it's like, it's NA, there's no power adders, even though all the stuff's there. But he didn't even bother. He was just like, this next guy we're just gonna let through because
yeah,
he was stupid enough to trade a 68 Charger for a set of heads or something like that. And and that car is, and he handed me the mic, but I guess you got to be really close to the mic. You couldn't hardly hear what I said, but then he goes, General Mayhem. And so anyway, so I was in.
Cool. Yeah. That is so cool. I think I know Birdsong worked on it for him and did that. Didn't he give you some original pieces from the car?
Yeah, I think it's yeah, it was cool. Birdsong's really cool. He's a cool dude. When they reverted the car back from the Hellcat to the 440 and they cut
Right.
the cage out of the car, Birdsong had to do a lot of structural repairs to the car to make it strong again. And plus, I guess some of the pieces some of the areas of the car might have been rusted too. I don't know. I don't think it was as bad when I gave it to him, but that was a long time ago, But he gave me a piece. I think it's where the trunk floor starts to go up and over the top, where your wire goes to the your sending
Or
unit.
into the gas tank? Yeah, sending unit.
Yeah, yeah. So he gave me that piece, and I meant to bring it to duct tape and get all those guys to sign it, but I forgot it.
Yeah.
You get overloaded and you don't think about stuff, and it's like, dang it. So I'll have to bring it next year.
All right. So you found the Charger. You loved the show, Dukes of Hazzard. So I'm going to safely say here that you were not a Mopar fan first. You were a Charger fan.
That would be correct.
Okay. So when did you become a Mopar fan? Because you still have Chargers, but now you got Dusters and trucks and station wagons and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, in high school, my buddy Eric, I met him in school, and I don't know, he always wore car type t-shirts, and so I don't even know if I did at that time, but somehow we got to talking and got on the topic of cars, and he said something like, the best cars ever made were Plymouths or something to that effect. And I was like, well, I go, yeah, they are, except Dodges are actually better, So he was a Plymouth Roadrunner guy, and I was a Dodge Charger guy. His dad had Plymouth Roadrunners when he grew up, so he was out to get a Roadrunner, and I was out to get a Charger. So we kind of fueled each other, I think, when it came to the Mopar hobby. And then I think just over the years, you started getting more into Mopar type stuff, not just Chargers per se. I just love love Mopars. I mean, I don't even have I was just telling my son today, I was like, I was telling him, he called me a Mopar guy or something like that. As I said, anybody that likes cars, raise their hand. So he raised his hand, and he's not so hardcore, right?
Yeah.
And I said, anyone likes Mopars, raise your hand. We raised two hands, and then he put one hand down. So I tickled him. And he goes, well, I'm not a hardcore Mopar guy like you are, Dad. And I go, yeah, you haven't been bitten by the bug yet, But I said, I don't even own all the Mopars I want to own. So I go out, there's some Chevys and Fords out there that are cool, but I would have to own every Mopar that I love before I ever got to a Chevy or Ford.
Yeah.
And he goes, so you'll probably never own a Chevy or Ford. And I go, nope, because I'll probably never own all the Mopars I want.
Yeah.
So
I know we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that I mean, I stumbled into them by accident myself. So first car I wanted to buy was a 69 Nova. And I ended up not getting it, thankfully. I'd have been broke for the rest of my life trying to keep it going.
Actually, my first car, I'm trying to think now. I think it was that 70 Chrysler, but I think my second car was actually a 72 Chevelle. And it was the same deal. Like it was sitting in the neighbor's yard, had no drivetrain in it. Decent car by today's standards, I think I paid $25 for it or something like that,
Yeah.
And I think so. My next car, gosh, let me think. I think it was the Charger. I think it was my 68 Charger. I had I'll just tell the story again. I know I've told the story probably a million times, but I was riding to school on the school bus and down this one road that, it's kind of a main road. I'm looking out the window. I had a window seat that day. I'm looking out the window and I could see the roof line of what I thought was a Charger. And I was like, it's either a Charger or it's like an early Chevelle. It's got like the big C-pillars, right? The long C-pillars. And I was like, holy shit, So all I could think about was that freaking car at school that day. And anxious to get home. So I get home. First thing I did was jumped on the dirt bike and went hauling ass out there. And sure as shit, it's a 68 Charger. I could see enough of it to tell it's a Charger. Knocked on the door, nobody was home. So then I had to go a whole nother day of school. And of course, I grabbed a window seat and I'm watching, looking at the car again, And then the next day I went over there, knocked on the door, and this big dude, I don't think he was as tall as you, John, but he was a big dude, at least my high school height, opens the door and he's just looking at me like confused, like, can I help you? Or like, but he's got that look like, what the hell do you want?
Right.
And so I was like, I was just wondering if you wanted to sell that car in the backyard. And he goes, oh yeah, come on in. He invited me in the house and stuff. And he goes, how much you give me for it? And I go, oh, I don't know. Let me go look at it. So we go back there, checking it out. And it's hammered, man. It is so hammered. Like the grill's knocked out of it. One of the fenders is missing, like it was ripped off. The hood was buckled because it had flown open and smacked the roof of the car. It was bad. And the one of the rear axles was like the rim was halfway buried in the dirt. Like it was in an area of his yard where there was drainage that went through it. So when it rained and stuff, the car just over the years, it sunk into the ground and it was halfway underground. But this was more summertime. So that dirt was like concrete now,
Yeah.
So I was like, holy shit. So I was like, oh, I don't know. I think I offered $50 or something. And he goes, make it 100. And I go, okay. So I ran home and, I still didn't have any job or didn't have any money. So I had to hit up my dad. Like, oh, I need $100, Dad. I'll work it off, blah, 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 He's like, oh, I got to go look at the car, blah, blah, blah. He's giving me that shit. And I'm like, I said, I'm buying this car. Like, no matter what, I'm going to buy this car. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, And he goes, all right, And so I think to sweeten the deal, I told him, I said, I'll give you the Chevelle if you, I still had to work off some money, but if you loan me the money to basically go get the Charger. And he's like, all right. And that was what smoothed it over enough. So he loaned me the money. And then my buddy Eric, my high school buddy, him and I went after school and basically like dug it out. It was tough. I don't know if we were pouring water. I don't remember, but it was a pain in the ass to dig the thing out. And then when we got it out, the wheel didn't roll. It was seized, it was stuck. And so I think we had to go back later. Yeah, because I think we were going to drag it home, but it wouldn't roll. So I had to rent a car dolly, and we went back like the next day and jacked the back of the car up, put the car dolly under the back of it, lowered it down, and then towed the car backwards to my house, which was probably a couple of miles or so. And so my buddy Eric was in the car steering while I was dragging him, So using my dad's van, his 76 Dodge van to drag it home.
I bet you were excited.
Dude, I was over the moon, man. That was my whole goal in life, was to own a Charger, and I had it. I finally had it.
Yeah.
It had a 318 2-barrel in it. My dad helped me with getting the brakes unstuck. We just took a water hose to it to try to break the dirt up out of there, and then we beat the crap out of that drum to get it off. Finally got it all apart and then put brakes on it. This is a all drum brake car. Threw gas down the carburetor, put a battery in it, boom, thing fired up, man. It sat for 5 years. So the guy told me it was his brother-in-law's car, and he used to drink too much. So that's why the car was so beat up, because he would drink and drive, and then he would veer off the road and hit like trees and mailboxes and ditches and whatever. And that's what ripped the fender off, and the grill was knocked out of it. That's what happened. But he got busted, and so he needed to leave the state, apparently. And so they loaned him the money for a plane ticket to get out of California. And the car was collateral for that ticket, and he never paid him back. So this was 5 years the car had sat there.
So you basically paid for a ticket for a guy, basically.
Yeah. And this guy was anxious. He was excited to get the car out of his yard. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I got it for $100.
That is awesome. A 68 Charger for $100.
I know, it's unheard
That's
of.
ridiculous. Man. That's ridiculous.
Only in today's context, man.
Yep. So Jacob's got a question for you.
All right.
Let's see here. Like what we have down is like, what is your pristine car? Like, what is the car that you don't want anyone messing with? That you don't want any idiots to get in the way of it? Kind of car.
That would be my Charger. That would be the 68, I think. I mean, I've talked about this before, the rings. You know, you have a bunch of cars, and the most important cars are in the center of your rings. And every car goes out from there, right? And so on the outer ring is the car that you love the most. You don't care too much. You know, it's like you could take it or leave it, buy it. You know, you could sell it. It's no big deal. And sometimes we go through these phases where we have too many cars and we go, man, I got too much stuff. I got to get rid of some stuff. Well, there's like a threshold in there. You could get rid of a certain amount of cars, and then you get to a certain ring and you're like, I can't let this car go, or any car on the inside of that ring, you know. But if you were ever forced into a corner and you had to sell something, my 68 Charger, my high school car, would be in the middle. Like that would be the absolute last car I ever got rid of. My mom's car and my dad's blue Charger are right there with it, you know. I would say they're all right there in the middle, and I never get rid of them. That would be my pristine, I guess.
Yeah, you'd take that car to hell and back. No shitter's going to get in the way of that one.
Yeah, exactly.
That is super cool.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful. I'd like to start it, get back on it. That car I want to, you know, it's a 318 car, so there's no sacrilege. You can do what you want to it. But I want to mini tub it, frame connectors, maybe even a roll cage in it, and make that my hot rod car, you know. And of course, paint it. I want to paint it.
The 318 in it?
No, I blew that up a long time ago because it leaked so bad. Though it leaked oil bad, real bad. I was putting probably a quart in it every week. And it wasn't, I don't think it was from burning oil. It was just from leaking. All the gaskets leaked. It needed everything, you know. And I got sloppy, and I didn't pay attention to the oil level one day, driving it down the freeway, and then just started knocking.
Took all the bearings out.
Yeah, I threw the rod. It went through the block. So, yeah.
Dang.
So I pulled that car apart, and it's been apart ever since. I haven't put it back together since then, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know?
Tony's Hot Rod Garage says every Mopar guy has a Christine car. That is absolutely true.
Oh yeah.
No doubt about it. So you were talking about you were painting it, or you're gonna, what was it? Because I kind of butt in there with that question.
I want to get back on it. I want to finish that car. It's a high priority for me. I was planning on starting it this year, and I talked to my buddy John Jones, the guy that he's painted several of my cars. He's painted 3 of my cars, and I really want him to paint it. But you know, I got laid off recently, so yeah, I got to figure out what I'm going to do and where I'm going to go here pretty soon. So, but I'd still like at some point to get on that car and do all those things, paint it, roll cage, mini tub, frame connectors, and put a 440 in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start driving that bad boy.
That's so cool that you still have it. I still have my high school car too, so that's super cool.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
I call me to get like an old car to bring to high school or something, show all my old friends and do a burnout or show off there or whatever.
Or you could just borrow Dad's, right?
Yeah. I'll bring the Coronet.
There you go.
I love that car. Gosh, I love the Coronet so much.
So do you have your own car yet, Jacob? And how old are you?
I'm 12 now. I do not have my own car. I have we have a mini bike.
Okay.
And then we have the corn dog cruiser, which it needs an inner tube. But yeah, I kind of have my own car. I mean, I can drive everything around. I can drive the Barracuda. I can drive around anything, really. Drive around the Roadrunner.
Yeah, he takes everything for a ride.
Oh, cool. Well, you guys got a lot of space where you're at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was when he first started driving the Barracuda and learning the clutch part of it. It took him just a little bit of time to really figure it out, but after that, we would just make lap after lap on the yard, on the property. Yeah. And so I had to stop him. Okay, stop. Now you got to do the clutch again. Stop. You got to do the clutch again. And he loved it anyway. So, and then we finally started working on shifting gears, and we'd get up to speed, and I'm going, man, I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, like I don't put it in second gear too often. I mean, I'm just first gear all the way down the driveway. But
Chris has got a question for you, Jacob.
Chris got a question?
Yeah, talking.
What is Jacob's dream car? Well, I'll tell you that. It starts with a C and it ends with an E. I'm sure now you can guess it.
That's why his question for you was.
Yes.
Christine. My buddy John Jones has one of those cars. He's got a 50. I think his is a 57 Fury, if I remember right. Did you know that technically everybody thinks that car is a Fury?
Yes.
Technically, it's a Belvedere. Did you know that? Yeah.
Technically, it's a Belvedere.
It's a Belvedere, and if you look at the movie at the beginning and it's going down the assembly line, you see all the Belvederes it's with, and then it's red. But everybody thinks it's a Fury because they only made Furies, like Belvederes were not painted red. Only the Furies were painted red. So that's why people think that. But it's really a Belvedere.
Really Belvedere.
The chrome trim gives it away too, because I think the Fury is gold and the Belvedere is chrome.
I think it's gold trim. I think it was like a cream color.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. That's a cool car. Real cool car, dude. That's
heck yeah.
Good thing your dad's got a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Just be careful with that Roadrunner. Okay. I'll be easy with it.
So we know your favorite car.
Yes.
What is a car that you want to get?
Who, me or Jacob?
You, Johnny.
Oh. A car I want to get that I don't have?
Yeah.
Well, I would say the 70 Super B is one of my favorite cars, and it's always been my unicorn. I've never owned one. I've come close. I had a 70 Coronet RT, which is a more rare car, but I bought it from my buddy John Jones, but it was super rusty. It was just in the scheme of things, it was just too much work for me to take on. Another one of those scenarios where it's like, why would I waste time on this car when I have cars that don't need any sheet metal? They just need to be put back together or whatever. So I kicked it down the road. And then, of course, I bought the wagon from John. So I kind of have a little bit of it. It's got the wraparound bumpers on the front.
Right.
In the wagon. But, yeah, that's my unicorn. But 69s are also my unicorn. I've never I've had a 4-door 69, but I've never had a 2-door, and I've never had a Super B. So
Yeah. Well, I love a Super B. I ruined one.
yeah.
I ruined
Oh, the
this.
one you made into a race car, right?
Yeah, I skinned it.
Yeah.
And that, nowadays probably could have got the paperwork on it, but struggled and struggled and struggled. And mom got tired of dealing with it. And,
Yeah.
dad we had plenty of room for a car there, but he didn't want it there anyway. Get this thing out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to do something with it. So, all right. So one question here, Johnny. What do you think of America's favorite hot rod, the K car?
They're not my cup of tea, but I don't hate them. I mean, when the 90s was my era, I thought about buying a Daytona, a little K car turbo 2.2 Daytona. It would have been cool. Yeah. I mean, it was just so, those were new cars back then. So it was so out of reach for me, And of course, if I owned it, like Direct Connection used to make the K member kit for it. So you can switch it over to a V8, know. I wanted to do that and then back half the car and stuff. I loved, like, Daryl Alderman was my hero. I loved his Daytona, and it was like, I want a Daytona like that. It's got to be big fat tires under the back of it and some pizza cutters up front, and a big 440 under the hood. So if I owned one, that's probably what would have happened to it. Assuming I could afford to do it,
I had a friend of mine, Louis, bought one brand new when we were, I think, just out of high school or whatever. And he got one of those, and I was pretty jealous. That was a good running car. That little Turbo Z, when that turbo kicked off, it was moving.
Yeah. There was a guy I worked with at my second job, was working for Round Table Pizza, and he worked there. And somehow we got on the topic, and he was like, "Oh man, those things are so fast." He goes, "I had one." He had an 87 turbo, and he said that freaking car would fly. And then I think he got T-boned in the car. He got messed up. Like, he was knocked unconscious and broke a bunch of bones in his body. Like, he was in the hospital for a very long time before he recovered. But yeah, he talked it up like it was a badass car. They're cool. I liked them.
Yeah.
But I could never, it was like, I could buy Chargers for less than $500 back then. So I just never would have bought a K car.
Let's say hello to a couple people. We got Mohawks in here. Check it out. Jed's here. Scott Speed Shop. What up, Jed?
What's up, Jed?
Is that the new names? All the names. If I didn't say hi to you, I'm sorry. Mofo Driver. He's in here.
I think Ruben asked something about if I ever owned an E-body.
Yeah, there it is right there. Has Johnny ever had an E-body, or has he always been into slow cars? Can I put that up on the screen real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there we go.
I have owned an E-body before. It was I guess it probably would have been I'm not even sure. It was within my first 5 cars, I would say. Because I think the C-body was my first. I think the Chevelle was my second. I think either my 68 was my third, or it might have been the Barracuda. I don't know. But, same thing, out there riding the dirt bikes and stuff. And I would ride down this dirt road, and this guy had a big piece of property, maybe like 5 acres or something like that, and in the middle of the yard, like, he would drive a tractor and till all the weeds and stuff, right? And there's always this car in the middle, like, of his front yard, on this little tiny knoll. Well, when I'd ride by it, I was like, it looked like a Challenger to me, so I thought it was a Challenger. So one day I'm going by, and the guy's out there in the yard, and so I stopped, and I asked if he wanted to sell that car, and he goes, yeah, I'd sell that car. It ended up being a 70 Barracuda. It wasn't a Challenger; it was a Barracuda. It had a crease down the side of the car, like from the tip of the fender to the tip of the quarter panel. But got to talking, and I don't know. I think it was one of those deals where it was like, it was just a family car. It was a plain Jane car, gold colored, black interior, and it got parked and never moved again, you know? And what's up, Ed? So I offered him, I think I said something like all I have, like all the money to my name is $60, but if you'll take that for the car, I'll buy it. And he says, yeah, all right, I'll do that. So I was like, cool. So paid $60 for that car. And there's paved streets to get there, but I didn't know what they were because the only way I could get there was through all this, you know, off-road terrain. And so I told my dad about it and, you know, told him I bought it and all this stuff, needed help. So we took the 76 van through all of this rugged terrain to get to this guy's place, and then we threw a chain on the car, and I don't even think the car had brakes. You know, we just left it on, I think we left like 2 flat tires on the back or something, so it didn't roll into the van, you know, it'd create enough drag, and then we just that thing all the way home. So that was the e-body I had, and I had dreams of making it a pro street car someday. And then later on, like, I don't know, I ended up trading it to my dad. Oh, he picked. There was also a '69 Charger RT 444 speed car sitting out there in, you know, different property, different area, whatever, but in the hills. And I had asked if it was for sale, and the guy thought it was worth a ton of money. He was like, "Oh, it's got a special rear end." So I, you know, first thing I thought is it's got to be a Dana. And I look underneath it, and it's just an 8 3/4, and I'm like, "There's nothing special about it." And he's like, no, somebody told me it's worth a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't, yeah. And so I didn't, he didn't, I think he wanted, I don't know what he wanted. It was like $1,000 or something. It was like way too much money for me at that time. So I had to pass, and it was hit pretty hard. It bent the frame rail. And then so years later, my dad's got a buddy who was friends with that guy because he was a neighbor to my friend's buddy, or my dad's friend's buddy. And my dad ended up with the car, and he paid like $150 for it. No. So I told my dad I would trade the Barracuda for the Charger, and he went for it. So then the Charger was mine and the Barracuda was his. And then years later, we had a big field fire that came through the property, and that was one of the cars that got burned to the ground. So
oh, man.
Never got to do anything with that car.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, big time. We lost a few cars. I had a friend of mine had some cars stored there too. So 72 Charger went up in smoke. That Barracuda went up in smoke. That Chevelle, that 72 Chevelle that I had traded to my dad, that got burned to the ground. He had a Monte Carlo in there, like a 69 or 70. It burned to the ground. And then the really cool car he had bought from a coworker, a 69 Plymouth Fury 3 440, what was it? TNT, right? No, Plymouth was Super Commando. It was a Super Commando. And it had the spotlight. It was a police package car, 4-door, had the spotlight on the driver's side.
Yeah.
And it had a big
12,
old
one Adam 12.
Huh?
I said one Adam 12, one Adam 12. See the man.
It had 2 big Motorola radios under the dash, and you know, like you could pick up and talk, and they had a big antenna on the back. But that car got burned in the fire too. So I still have the 440 that was in it, and I had it rebuilt. It's sitting in my container. But everything else, like the carburetor, just melted into a puddle of aluminum. The transmission's the same. The transmission just melted, and it was just a
Oh,
puddle of
man.
aluminum with all the guts kind of on top of it.
Yeah.
Destroyed the car. But
Dang. A poor old car. That sucks.
Yeah.
oh
that does.
yeah, it was a civil defense car. So I think during World War II they formed the civil defense, which was like kind of like, I don't know, community patrol people. Like, if you see, if the Japanese were invading or something, or the Germans were invading, they were like on the lookout for that kind of thing, I guess. Whatever they were, they don't exist anymore, but they existed in '69, and that car was a civil defense car. So it was actually, I think it was B5 blue or B3 blue. It was faded by that time, so I couldn't tell you exactly, but yeah, that car's gone.
Dang.
Well, I'm going to go out on the limb and say Johnny Mopar likes B bodies more than anything. Is that right? As far as Mopar?
Absolutely. Yep.
So
Barnett.
I know you got an A body. Is there any other, are you partial to? Like, is there one of the others that you prefer?
In the A body camp?
Well, it could be A body, could be F body, could be C body, E body.
Definitely C bodies. I don't have any at the moment, but I've had a few over the years. My baby, I had a so my Coronet, I'd met John and I wanted him to paint the car, and that it had a 318 in it originally. I had bought a parts car that was rolled. It was a Coronet 500, a 68, and I pulled the drivetrain out of it. I paid $300 for the car, pulled the drivetrain out, and I put it in my Coronet. So it was a fun car, big. Going from a 318 to a 383 was a big upgrade. So now we're making some power, but it always leaked oil. And then I made the mistake of trying to fix the seal, and it was a rope seal. And you try to put a regular seal in there, it just kept leaking and leaking. And I pulled the pan and tried to change that seal like 5 or 6 times, which I was getting really pissed and frustrated. And it just kept, people would say, oh, you got to turn it this way. You got to cock it at a 45. You got to do this. You got to do that. Did you do this? Did you do that? And I'm like, I did it all. I tried it all. And it still leaked. And it leaked worse than it did with the rope. So I'm like, what the hell, man? And then the last time I had the pan off, I just took a screwdriver. I don't know what made me think of it, but I pried it between the crank and the main journal, and it just went like clunk. And then sorry, it was a mosquito. And I clunked it the other way. This thing was moving like, I don't know, 60 thousandths, or I don't know if it was that much, but it was a lot. The crank was just wore out on this car.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it was getting so much oil pressure hitting that rear main seal, and you just couldn't stop it from leaking, So hold on 1 second. Kill that mosquito.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple more things here. I always like asking this question. Are you a purist? Like no mod? If you were to go buy the cleanest 70 CUDA with I don't care, we'll say a 446 pack in it, shaker hood, got your go wing on the back. Are you one of them guys that would put a set of headers on such a beautiful car?
In that case, I guess I might. I do have some purist tendencies. Okay. Like, I have my own set of rules that you have to follow. And I think, like, if I had my dream, let's go really big beyond the CUDA. Let's say a Daytona. Like, that would be the ultimate for me, right? B body.
Yeah.
Okay. And Charger, like, that car is all of it wrapped in one, right?
The Holy Grail.
Holy Grail. If I had a Daytona, I would probably leave it bone stock, all original, all correct. I would play by the rules, the purist rules, and I wouldn't alter it in any way. But I'll probably never own a car like that, and I never have owned a car like that. And so, my tendencies, my average Joe tendencies are, it's like, like most of my cars were 318 cars originally, and you have freedom to, you're not hurting the car's value by putting a big block in it, putting headers on it, and doing whatever. But like, even though I would modify, like, say, a 318 Charger to the gills, there's certain things I wouldn't do. Like, I like factory colors. To me, even if I like, Pro Street is my jam. You know what I mean? Pro Street was the 90s thing. I love Pro Street cars, but I was never really into the fancy paint jobs so much. Like, my idea of a bitchin' Pro Street car would be, like, say, a 69 Charger with a rump stripe. So it's got to be a factory color. It's got to have the factory stripe on it. Going to have factory gauges and seats and door panels with a roll cage, tubs with big fatties in the back and pizza cutters up front, and slammed to the ground. That's my, high watermark.
Yeah.
So you can see it's kind of a mixture of purity and complete modification.
Yeah. I got to admit, I'm somewhere in there too.
Yeah.
All my cars, like the Roadrunner, I still have the factory, exhaust manifolds.
Yeah.
I guess I call them Magnum, although, Roadrunner's not a Magnum. It's
Right.
the Super Command. No, it's a Roadrunner engine. Anyway, I
Right.
still have the factory exhaust manifolds that came off the car. I'll always keep them. I feel like someday maybe I'll get to that point where, calming down is cool. But for now, I remember I put together a motor and put it in the thing, and it really ran good. And then a buddy of mine gave me the headers that are on it, which are crap, but they were headers.
Yeah.
And I put them on there and stepped on the throttle and went, I ain't never putting stock manifolds back on again.
Yeah.
It's such a huge difference. So
Yeah.
hang on, I got to answer this phone.
Okay.
Hello, Tracy.
So, Jacob,
Yeah.
Christine,
How do you open the what?
Yeah.
how are you going to find one of those?
Oh,
You guys have a lot of cars, like, in fields and stuff like that in people's yards out there where you live?
No, we don't.
No.
You
Oh.
said you collect Hot Wheels, right?
Yes, sir.
I have a bunch of Hot Wheels. I mean, I have a tub full of Hot Wheels.
Do you really?
Yeah. They're not in
Nice.
boxes, but I have a bunch of Hot Wheels. For some reason, I have this weird Dodge. It's just like a weird car. It's strange.
Oh,
Dart 68.
nice. Okay. Very cool. Okay. Yeah,
You have
see, I
any
would take
cars?
Yeah, Hot Wheels stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got tons, man. I got tons. I'm sitting in the garage though right now, so I don't really have. They're not close by to grab.
Oh,
But
okay.
but I bet you I have one you'll like. Give me.
Okay.
Are you okay with hanging out for a second?
Sure.
All
I'm
right.
good.
I'll be right back.
All right, then. Well, I'm by myself right now, and I might as well answer some comments while we're at it. Okay. My buddy Jesse has a real 58 dual quad Fury. That sounds cool. Yeah, I think I saw a video, Scott. I think I saw a video, Jed. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But I think I saw a video about you doing a 58 Fury. Oh, okay. Tell us something about Tall John that would make us laugh. I don't really know anything, but all I can really tell you at the moment is that he's a big beak. And, yeah. He's a beak. And, yeah. You need it, that Fury, man. You'd be super cool rolling into high school with that. Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Well, the biggest beak. Heck yeah.
All right, I'm back.
Alrighty then.
So I thought I'd show you some of the custom cars I built first.
Oh, okay.
One of my favorite cars was my blue 69 Roadrunner. So I built this car.
Oh, okay.
Mine didn't have a blower on it. Let's see if I can get it to focus.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And I
Like a
lowered
baby
it, put
blue?
some fat tires in the back, all
Yeah.
that good stuff. And then this is another green
Oh.
69. It's in this case, so it kind of looks weird. 69 I made, like an 812 car.
Mm-hmm.
And a 70 Charger there. This one's the Hot Wheel paint, like you would buy it like that, but I lowered it, changed the wheels, put some fatties on it and stuff.
Yep.
And then,
That's cool right there.
Yeah, and then there's my D100.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And then this is what I was going to show you. You'd probably like this. I didn't modify this car. I bought it like this.
Is that a Johnny Lightning?
I don't know.
I think it is Johnny Lightning. Because I have a Johnny Lightning. It's like the American flag kind of painting, and it's a 57 Fury.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think it's an M2. I don't think that one's a Johnny Lightning.
Oh, okay.
And then there's this one. This is a Hot Wheel.
Hot Wheels?
Yeah.
I think the Christine I have two models of Christine. I have the one where Arnie was building it in the shop.
Okay.
And it was like halfway built.
Yes, it's got like a primer fender or something on it, and
yeah, it's still got the cracked windshield, and it's all different colors, and it's faded.
Cool.
And it's got like one hubcap on it and all that, and it's like messed up. And then I have like the fully fixed model. It's been beat up, but it's Auto World.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Are they 164s or are they bigger? Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Way cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what these guys are saying in here.
Okay, show me.
Tony's saying 58 is going to be hard to find. I've been looking for an affordable one for about 20 years. Yeah, and they're probably just going to keep going up.
Yep.
You'll have to figure out the stock market so you can afford one, Jacob.
Yeah.
Spit some bars, corn dog. Jacob, tell us something about Tall John that would make us laugh.
Yep.
You got anything?
I mean, I told him that that he's a big beak. How are them trains treating you? Oh, they're yeah. You probably don't know we have a video of me messing with my model trains, but I think one of them, because you know Thomas and Friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I do.
Yeah, you know Bachman. You know how they make them things.
Okay, no, I don't.
No, I might have to go upstairs and get them, but the model trains upstairs. I think one of them, it's like a Bachman Ben. I think the motor's burned out on it because it goes for a second and then it just totally quits on me. And I've been messing around, but yeah, they're the Wraith. Oh yeah, that's a cool movie. But yeah, the model trains, they need to get to a proper home, proper place where I can take them apart and look at them.
So Jed says you need to get that. You need that Fury, man. You'd be super cool rolling it into high school with that.
Oh yeah, be awesome.
And then Ruben says, for those that don't know, Tall John owns tour buses. That was one of his drivers, so I'm sure he had to answer it. Just don't want folks to think he's just gabbing. And then here's some good advice from Unfinished Project. Whatever you do, never sell your first car. Very
Yeah.
good. Very good advice.
Yeah, I like that advice.
Yeah. Chris says Johnny paid more for the Hot Wheels than his actual Charger. That might be true. Tony says those are freaking cool. Looks like my friend's 57 Coronet.
HO skill.
So let me say hello to Ed's Machine.
Oh,
I haven't talked to you for a while. You get caught up on that kind of stuff. Look at Jed says he grew up on Thomas the Tank Engine.
gosh, dang, I love that show so much. Just watch it every day. I
Wow.
love that thing.
Well, I have one more question for you, Johnny.
Okay.
The question of modern Mopars. We've got all of our good Hemi powered Challengers and Chargers and all those, but how about those electric cars that are coming out? Aren't they sweet?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Chris had talked about this too. I don't really have a problem with them. The problem I have is that they've taken it upon themselves, caved to political pressure over a lot of stuff. I think a lot of it's BS, but it's like if the electric car is a viable option, it should be able to stand on its own two legs. You don't have to, eliminate the gas engine cars or the Hellcats to make way for the electric car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they've decided that 2024 is going to be the last year for all the high performance gas engines, right? So I think that's stupid. I think it's stupid on their part. I honestly think, just my opinion, but I think if you were to force everybody to have an electric car today, it would crash the grid. Like, I just don't think it's viable as they think it is,
Yeah.
So, and I think they're going to screw it up. I think that's going to be something that happens, something's going to happen and where the grid gets overloaded, and you're going to have like Gavin Newsom as president by then. And he's going to say, oh, don't charge your cars. It's, we don't have enough power to go around, and then everybody's going to go, well, that was dumb. Why did we get rid of all the gas engines? Maybe we need to bring those back,
Yeah. I think I agree with most of that. I think one of the things that, in the big cities, I get not putting so much exhaust fumes in the big city. They did that in New York when it came to trains and things like that. They made it electric rail bringing goods in. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it should be, if the government has to stand it up, it's not viable. It's not ready yet. It's
right.
Let the private sector take care of it. They if it works, they will. And sometimes it takes things to spur on the growth of it to see if it could get better.
Yeah.
But it's being forced, and that's not going to work.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Completely agree with that.
Yeah, it's like I was reading the comments and Scott said trying to force something on someone will never succeed. It will only make people more resistant.
Yeah.
And yes, I do agree to that.
Yeah, so do I. But I also think that, I think even if everybody bought into it, if everybody wanted electric cars, like I don't think the national grid is capable of handling it. And I think too, like they're making the argument that it's like, well, it's good for the environment and all this stuff. And I'm not so sure. Like I'm not convinced yet. And I think once it starts to scale up and you've got electric, these batteries from these electric cars that are now going to be waste, it's like, how do you dispose of that? That's probably going to be pretty bad for the environment too, so I don't know.
Well, there's the exposing of it, but this is the numbers I've heard. How true it is, I don't know.
Okay.
I've heard that the amount of fuel used to mine these chemicals that make the batteries,
Yeah.
that there are more diesel fuel is used than what the battery is capable of holding in its lifetime of energy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And
Wow.
and I always tell everybody that I know that wants to brag about their electric car. I don't have a problem with the electric car necessarily, but I always tell them, well, you know, how do you like your coal-fired car?
Yeah.
Because that electricity is coming from somewhere, and they honestly, just like some of these politicians. Ah, here we go again. All right, hang on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mohawk says, lost my first car to Leighton, joined the army, went to basic. My dad sold my 64 Chevy too. He was just supposed to store it for me till I got home. Oh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Oh yeah.
Chris says, Tall John, you and Jacob need to do this more often. I'm really enjoying this. You guys can be talking Mopars, and I'll be talking Mopars light. Leighton says, our power grid can't handle it. They're already saying don't use the heater in the winter to save the battery. Wow. And then Tony says, that's BS. Mining lithium is far more destructive than internal combustion engines ever will be. And then Hoosier's Garage says, hey, dudes, what's up, Adam? Mohawk says, hey, Hoosier. And then Jed says, be right back. Got to finish editing my Barely Cuda first drive video. Yeah, dude, I don't know if you guys saw Jed's post. He did like a community post where he's got some Nazi neighbor that hates loud engines and stuff. And so he's got a, I guess he's afraid to fire up the car in his neighborhood because this guy is just so horrible, calls the cops on him and stuff like that. And I'm sure the car may not be registered and all that stuff yet. So Jed's got to worry about that. Adam says, hey, Mohawk, unfinished. I love electric car performance, but I don't want it to be forced as an only choice scenario. I agree with that. You know what? And this new car, the new Mopar electric car might be a badass car. And I mean, if I was a millionaire, you know, I'd have all my old school cars. I would have Hellcats, and I'd probably, if that electric car turns out to be pretty awesome, I'd probably own it too. But I wouldn't sell my old gas engine cars or anything to have that instead. You know, I have a friend that has a Tesla. It's not the S. It's like a lower level, but we took it for he let me drive it. You know, where you let the car drive itself and take your hands off and stuff, and it's pretty impressive. It's way different. It's weird. It's kind of weird to drive, but it's definitely a cool car. But yeah, I'm not ready to make the leap personally.
And like Pop was saying earlier about the coal-fired cars, what I think we need to bring back, I'm not sure if it'll ever happen, is steam cars. I think that'd be so awesome.
Yeah.
Pulling into high school. What's up?
What's up? Stanley Steamer.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, you never know. Awesome. I mean, someday, I'd imagine someday we're going to have to run out of fossil fuel. And I honestly don't think we would have enough power to supply everybody's personal vehicle being an electric car. So who knows? Maybe steam engines will come back, you know? So Jed says, that neighbor hates noise in general. Tony's Hot Rod says, F that guy. Leighton says, I would do burnouts in the driveway.
I kind of met him when I was visiting up there, and actually I didn't meet him. He wouldn't look at us. He was weird. He was riding around on his motorcycle and doing some crazy looking attitude. So
really?
Yeah, just a weird dude. Check it out. Hoosier Garage in here.
Sweet.
Hey, Adam.
It runs on stupidity. There's a lot of it out there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that. Shoveling in
Unfinished.
more stupidity.
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
Oh, yeah.
Same as masks. I'm all for people wearing masks if they want to, but don't force me to wear them. I agree.
I agree too.
Even a stock car like Dad's stock 2006 Ram startles him. But I'm way out in the middle of nowhere. I thought Jed was in the middle of nowhere. Is Jed like, I mean, compared to where I live, we're here in California, houses are stacked on top of each other. Is Jed in the middle of nowhere, or is he got?
Well, he's like in a, I don't know, it's a neighborhood, I guess, but it's
like ranch style homes or something. Like they're pretty big plots, but it's not like you've got
Jed, you got an acre, half acre, I think about is what he's on. I think.
Okay.
He's in the edge of town. You go a couple of roads over, and you're back to the farms.
It sucks. You get a bad neighbor like that just to ruin your life, you know.
Yeah.
There's people are commenting here about the different, running out of fossil fuels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of the latest oil strikes or oil that was found in the United States, they're saying is the biggest strike ever, that it has oil at the progression of use that we are using it now. The estimated use in 200 years, we wouldn't run out of that one strike.
Yeah.
So I don't know, by then, who knows what will be invented. Certainly we're not going to run out by the time we're finished with this place.
No, probably not. I also think too, like, I don't know if we use everybody else's oil first.
Yeah.
The United States uses theirs last. It's like we're gonna be the superpower, for a long time. Tesla played S runs 630s in the 8th mile. It impressed me a lot. Yeah. I mean, electric motors are just, it's hard to compete with that. You've got instantaneous torque and power, right? As soon as you hit your potentiometer, your throttle. Is this your mom? Says that boy loves steam engine.
Oh yeah, that's my mom.
Do you guys have like train museums and stuff out where you're at, close by?
No, not really.
Well, we have one in downtown Nashville. There's the Central Tennessee Railroad.
Okay.
Yeah, like L&M down
there. That's where we used to go to see Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever come out this way, there's that train museum in Paris. It's pretty cool. Pretty awesome.
Yep. And maybe while we're down there, we'll probably have to go see the Rail Giants Museum where Big Boy used to be.
Yeah, that's the one in Pomona there.
Yeah, Pomona.
At the fairgrounds.
Okay.
Okay, so let me get one more question out for you, Johnny, and then, and that is, so people know, a lot of people know that you have a YouTube channel, but for those that don't, what's your channel? Do you have Facebook? How do people get a hold of you, get shirts and stickers and things like that? Give us that info.
So yeah, it's Jonny Mopar, Jonny. That's my YouTube channel. If you need to ask me something or say something to me, the best way is to put a comment in my videos, because I try to answer all the questions in there or respond to all the comments in there. I do have a Facebook page. I've got my personal one, Jonny Mopar, and then I have one, Jonny Mopar Garage. But like, I don't stay on top of it. There's probably a million people that have friended me there, and it's like I just don't have time to vet them. I would just accept all of them, except there's a bunch of knucklehead people in there that are just there to scam you or whatever. So I try to, if I do, sometimes I will go through there and it's always easy if you have like a car, a Mopar, especially as your, your avatar, then I just accept it. But if it's just like a person, your face or something like that, it's like, I don't know. And I couldn't take the time to go dig through your page to see if you're a car guy or if you're, some scammer from India or something like that, so I don't go in there much. So that's not a good place to contact me. YouTube comments is the best place to get my attention. So and
that's
I'm on
where,
Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well.
okay.
There's just like an underline between, or is it? It might be just Jonny Mopar.
Is
Yeah.
that the preferred, the comments, and the preferred place to get your shirts and your stickers?
Yeah, so there's a link at the bottom of the videos you can click on to buy the t-shirts. Yep.
Sweet. If you ain't seen Jonny Mopar's channel, go check it out.
Heck yeah.
Mopar guy especially, but lots of cool different projects. My favorite project has to be the challenge that you and Jeremy did, sort of stock Mopars.
Yeah.
And you had a group of guys with you doing yours, and it was fun. The progression, the questions, what do you think this is worth? All that was fun. That got everybody interested in going. And then to have the race, and the first one the way it turned out, and then the second one the way it turned out. Second, man, that race at the duct tape, man, that was a nail biter, man.
It was.
Awesome. It was. I like to say it this way. Spoiler alert: Jonny had a crushing defeat. What was it, like 200ths or 400ths of a second or something like that?
It was. I think it was 200ths.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was a tiny.
Oh.
And I'd like to point out that I also beat Jeremy to the 8th mile. I beat him at the 8th mile.
Yeah, so if you were at Verona, you'd have won.
I would have won there, right? Exactly, yeah. And we would have been done.
You know what it is it's that big nose on that Belvedere. It was just crushing the air going down there.
I guess. Yeah.
See, Mopar Man's in here. What's up?
What's up, Mopar Man?
So yeah, that race was, that's probably the most fun I had there because we were busy in the garage area, if you know what I mean. It was
no, I had a great time. It was fun. Just having everybody there and shooting the shed and making the passes, and it was good. I love duct tape. That's my 3rd time being there. The first time it was zip tie drags, and then last year and this year of duct tape drags was it's a staple for me now. It's like it's too much fun not to go to that. I have to go to that.
Yeah, and for me personally, it was fun because you get to meet people. You've been watching them on their videos, and you and I had talked before, but I never got to meet you. We didn't talk a whole lot, but then when I see you standing there, it's like it's I don't know, it's just so cool, and be able to come and shake your hand and say hi. And about the first thing we did was jump in the Belvedere and drive around and look at everybody's cars.
Yeah.
Then we drove over and parked it next to General Mayhem and took the pictures together with that.
Yeah.
It just was super. That was just a ton of fun. And getting over at the bonfire, what a blast, man.
Yeah.
What a blast.
Yeah, I kind of missed that because we went to, I had the family with me, so we went to dinner and stuff, but
yeah, it was an amazing time. Super fun. I'm definitely going to do it next year.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to try to do, I don't know how I'm going to manipulate it yet, but once they get the date figured out, I'm going to head out there to Anza and get the Little Red Express. And if I could get enough that the truck runs, but it's going to need some stuff to be okay to go down the track.
Right.
The tires probably for one, but
right.
Anyway, I want to get it up good enough and safe enough and be able to run it down there at duct tape. And have fun with it and load it back on the trailer and haul it home. So that's what I'm
Sweet.
hoping to do.
Sweet. That'd be
So that's
awesome.
what I was going to try to do last year, and everything went this way and that way, and it was,
Yeah.
it's sometimes just hard to nail it down.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, one of the things that when reality sets in is that all this stuff costs money, and like Tucson, Arizona from here, it's like a day's drive, and so it's kind of at the limits of what I can drive to in a day. But you got gas and then hotel and then food and all that stuff adds up. So, you can't do them all. You
Right.
gotta pick, and but I think it's a good idea to pick stuff like this because it's a motivator to get you to get when you have a goal there, it's like, all right, whatever it is, if it's, muscle cars at the strip, if it's duct tape drags, if it's no name nationals, or, whatever you're going to pick, whatever's closest to you, or you could pin on the calendar. It's good for you to get on your project and wrench on it and, try to shoot for that goal. And sometimes you miss, I missed twice because I was trying to get the Blue Charger, the 68 done for duct tape last year, and I didn't finish in time. And then when Jeremy and I sort of stock Mopars did the little challenge where we were going to race a Verona, we got there and the car died, 10 feet out of the hole, and then we were done.
Yeah.
So I'd call that a miss because we were wrenching on the car all the way up to the last minute, trying to get it to the track. And we really needed about one more week just to test drive the car or work out any bugs we didn't know were there,
Yeah.
But
it was something with the distributor broke, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I still have a piece of it here somewhere. This guy. The splines, this one's got splines inside of here. I don't know if they're all like this or this is just a newer distributor, but it's stripped. So this guy was just spinning.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I have never seen that happen before.
Neither have I.
I mean,
that was just one problem we had.
Yeah. Then there was oil pump problems, and I forget what
oil. We lost oil pressure, and then that motor, I don't know. It was a hand-me-down motor. I got it from a friend that came out of a car that he bought, and the end result was there was the O-ring missing on the shaft that goes into the block, and so oil was going past that, so it dropped. That's when it lost oil pressure, and then we screwed it up because we were thinking there's other problems, and then Chris was putting a screw on the end of the spring to try to increase the pressure, which caused the pressure to go through the roof, and then we blew out the oil filter on it. So yeah, it was just a disaster. But
it was a heck of a learning day, huh?
Yeah, it was. We saw a lot of stuff that I've never seen before in my life. And that's how that car was. That car seemed to always have problems, I tell you, like taking the Duster, not saying that, it's perfect or anything, but it was like it just ran great. Everything worked, I was really happy with getting the Duster out there and just like, okay, none of the shit that happened with the Belvedere happened with the Duster. It's like it kept running, everything was good, So anyway.
Yeah. So that the duct tape thing though, that old Belvedere ran pretty flawless, didn't it? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Do it.
Well, the last pass it cut out. I don't know why it cut out.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like it was running out of fuel or something.
It was either that or is it ignition? I'm not sure. I've since put an MSD on it, but I haven't taken the car back to the track yet. So, we took the Duster out last time instead of the Belvedere, which the Duster's been long overdue. So we had to put the Belvedere on the shelf for a little bit. But
yeah. Well, I was glad to see the Duster get out. we've been watching videos on that, little things here, little things there, and
Yeah.
finally got to see some of that go, running down the track. And I'm a Duster Demon guy. I love them cars.
Yeah, so do I.
I think they were kind of the I don't know, that's the best of the A bodies to me.
I think so too. I mean, the quarter panels bulging out in the back, they're just more made for a bigger, fatter tire,
Yeah.
And then, it's a full open wheel well versus like the Dart is sort of semi-skirted, makes it a little more difficult to get a bigger tire under a Dart. I like Darts too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose a 71 Demon. That would be a perfect car. And then the second would be a 71 like 340 Duster with a shark tooth grill. It's like very cool car.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing about the Demon, no matter what Demon you get, you either get the first year or the last year.
Right.
It's the only two you get. Then you get to the Dart Sport land. Not quite sure. I think people complained about having a car named a Demon back in 71 and 72. I guess that was horrible.
Yeah. That supposedly was the deal. The Christians were going to boycott or something. Obviously these guys were the radicals, but so Chrysler didn't want to take any chances and they just killed the name.
I remember a guy coming to our church that had a Demon.
Yeah.
I don't remember if at that age, I'm not sure it bothered me, but
it's like anything. Like even today, people get hung up on the stupidest of political topics. You know what I mean? And it's like they just want to be on their soapbox and be heard, I guess. So unfortunately, there's always people out there like that.
Check out Adam. I have nothing to do with Dusters. Liar! You're a liar. You have the guts of them taken care of. That is a cool project right there. I
know, dude, what he's done with that Duster, cutting all the quarters off and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a brave man.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
So let's see.
It's gonna be a cool car though when he's done.
Oh yeah. I'd like to get my Charger finally done, then get started on my 70 Duster. When I was younger, a Charger was it. Let's see, and then when I got older and started learning that weight slows things down, I fell more towards the A bodies then. I still think I'm more of a B body person than an A body person, but
yeah,
if I'm going to build a race car, it's going to be an A body. If I'm going to build something for serious, it's got to be an A.
Well, here's the thing.
Dean Stevens is in the house.
We weighed my Duster, and I think it weighed, if I remember right, it was like it's either 3150 or 3250. I think it was 3150. And my buddy Dennis, he's got a 69 Charger. It's like a Pro Street. And we weighed his car, and it weighed, gosh, I want to say it was 3,200 pounds or something like that, or 3,250 or something. Now, granted, it's gutted. It's like there's no interior in it. It's got a roll bar. There's no heater core. There's, it's a lot of stuff stripped out of the car. But it's a freaking 69 Charger, and it's like, honestly, John, like I like going to the track. It was funny because if Ruben's still in here, every time I'd make a pass, he's like, advance the distributor, gotta go faster, and I'm like, dude, I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to screw with anything. I just want it to run. I just want to make passes because I'm not used to the car, and it's an animal, it's a handful. So it was like the last thing I need is more power right now. But I had so much fun doing that. I don't need to be the fastest car. I'm okay with a car, if I did a Charger, which I'm going to do my 68, but if I got it around 3,200 pounds, I'm comfortable with that. you know, I'm happy with 3,200 pounds. My Roadrunner was 3,400 pounds. I'm sure my Coronet is 3,400 pounds. So, and those cars were a blast to take down the track. And they're not race cars; they're street cars, and they're not huge horsepower motor cars. They're street power cars, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm totally content with that. I don't need to be the fastest guy. I just want to go fast and have fun. So
Well,
for
and you
me, the
think,
next one's a Charger.
yeah, you think about it though, a gutted Charger weighing 3,200 pounds, that's not bad.
No, that's
You
really
know,
good.
a Dodge Dart fully clothed with a V8 in it is 3,200 pounds.
Yeah.
So, obviously you get to have the body style with the performance if you want to go that route with the car. That's cool.
Right. Yeah, and I think Birdsong weighed his, I think it was his patina car, if I remember right. With like, so it was a big block, air conditioning, power steering, like all the things that make a car heavy. It added up to 3,800 pounds. So it was like, if you want to know what a Charger weighs, you know, this is what it weighs. You know, he's got every full interior, center console, everything. So
Yeah.
3,800 pounds is a heavy car for the drag strip for sure. But, you know, you go with the manual steering box, ditch the air conditioning, you know, and get rid of a few interior parts, and
Yeah.
you can get it down.
Yeah. Now you got the looks with the car,
Right.
I mean, I gotta admit, I hear people complaining all the time. Why they? I don't know why they're so popular. I don't get it. Because they're stinking awesome looking. That's why.
Yeah.
And it
Dude,
didn't take the Dukes of Hazzard. I always thought they were awesome looking. Always. They call it the Coke bottle, the design. Yeah. And I don't care if you put nice looking wheels on the car and stare at it from a profile. That sucker looks like it's going 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. Bar none, it's the sexiest car on earth in my book. Like, if you took out the value part of cars, you know, and you said you have your choice, I can give you a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, or a second gen Charger, I'd take the second gen Charger. You know, and if you put the car values in there, sure, I'll take the Lamborghini to sell it so I can own 10 second gen Chargers, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I've always loved them.
And the third gen Chargers took me a time to warm up to them. I love them now.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry. I'll have a 68, 69, or 70, and I prefer 8 or 9, and I like them the same.
Yeah,
because I like the grill on a 68, and I like the taillights on a 69. And 70s kind of put that both together, but I don't think it looks as good with the wraparound bumper.
Right.
So, anyway.
I have a soft spot for 70s because, well, I honestly have a soft spot for all of them because my dad's was a 68, both of them. And then my first car was a 68, or my first Mopar. And then my second Mopar was, or I shouldn't say my second. At some point, I got a 70 Charger. I always liked the 69 because of Dukes of Hazzard. I like the 68s because of my dad and my car. And then I got a 70. And I loved that car. It was a burnt orange interior, burnt orange exterior. Just a 318 car at first, and then I dropped a 440 in it later. But absolutely loved that car. That car burned to the ground, unfortunately.
Yeah. But was that in this fire that took out the E-body too?
No, it was a different fire. I just filled it up. I'd only had it running for a week with the 440 in it, and still breaking in the motor, so I was babying it, you know. But pulled out of a gas station after filling it up, and the O-ring from the fill tube to the tank leaked.
Yeah.
And so when I pulled out of the gas station, the car stalled, and it always had electrical issues, you know, and I tried to start it and it backfired. And when it backfired, it lit that gas that was leaking out of the tank because the exhaust terminated right in front of the rear end. And I had to sit there and watch it burn to the ground. It was horrible experience. But I love that car.
Jed,
I like
says
Jed.
I stabbed him in the heart. Hey, I said that both had what I liked about the other two. It just, I don't think it's as clean as I guess. I don't know. There's, I don't know. If
It's
if it came down to, do you want a 70 Charger or a, I don't know, a Valiant? I'm taking the 70 Charger.
yeah,
If it came down to a 69 Charger and a 70 Charger, and the 70 Charger was cleaner, I'd take that. I mean, I'm not that far off from what I
yeah,
would, the pick between the two. That's got that, if you want to know the exact, well, that's the exact. I think that the 70, I don't know. I think that they're just bad. Those things are badass cars. That's all there is
yeah,
to it. And the RT where they put that scoop on the door, I've
yeah.
heard so many people say they don't like it. I love it. I
I
love
love
that.
it. I love
I
it
love
too.
that kind of stuff. I always liked it's. I'm gonna talk about Brand X a little bit. The Ford Mustang, you got the 69 and the 70. I think those are the best looking Mustangs, but the 69's it because it has that scoop in the quarter panel.
Yeah,
And that's what I love about it. And although I'd never owned one, but that's
yeah,
beside the point.
yeah. To me, I think like the 68 is the origin, and to me it feels more fancier than the 69. Like the 69 to me feels more raw. Like they didn't have as much flash, but like the taillights going elongated just made it more wicked looking,
Yeah.
and the divider in the grill. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's the raw year. And then when you get to the 70, to me, the 70 is like the refined car because like the seats got upgraded with the high back and they just look a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
more futuristic.
Yeah.
Like
You're
you said,
right.
the
You're right.
scoops on the door, and then you look at like if you look at a 70 Charger in the front, and if it's sitting next to a 69 or a 68, even though it's got the wraparound bumper, it's like smaller. Like the grill is smaller in the 70. It just looks a little more clean. I don't know. To me, it has a little more futuristic vibe to it.
Yeah.
But I like all three. I don't like one more than the other. I like all three of those. And I also like the second gens. Like I said, I grew up in my mom's 72, and I never thought of it as a hot rod as a kid, but in later years, it's like, yeah, they're cool cars. I like them.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was a kid, I hated the Barracuda that I got. I just thought it was just the stupidest thing. And as I got older, I started to appreciate more of the older cars. Well, now I look at that car and I go, man, you compare, that's a 65, basically the same thing as a 64. And you look at Chevys and Fords, not necessarily a Barracuda, but a Valiant, whatever. And you look at that grill, that is the best looking grill of all the cars that come out that year when it
Yeah.
comes to the smaller compacts.
Yeah.
And now I look at the car with the fastback glass and everything, and I just go, man, that's a great looking car. I'll tell you what, America thinks so too. We took it down to the cruising the coast in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay.
I have never, everybody that was with us too is like, what is the deal with this car? Because we're going down the road and it's, hey, 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 everywhere. It was crazy on the way down there, on the way back. That car gets such a massive amount of attention.
Nice.
And anyway, it's a blast. It's fun to own a car for that reason, but I just think it looks so cool. When I go out in the garage and I see it there, I have to study it for a minute. Hey, that's mine. And it's not even my favorite car,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mopars have that certain shape and that look. That they got the thick door and they got the I don't know.
They have their own flavor. It's weird because when people say like they see your car and they're like, I think my neighbor's got a car like that. I think it's a Mopar. They don't know what it is. They don't know what year it is, but somehow they know the flavor. And then sure enough, you do get to go see it, and it's like, yep, that's a Mopar.
Yeah. Yeah. And my first car is a 69 Dart. And when I started looking at the Plymouths and the Dodges, the B bodies and then the C bodies, I could see the similarities between them. This is definitely a Mopar thing. But not just, the way the torsion bar works, the way the suspension is set up, the way, with the upper control arm at an angle, and then you got the semi-elliptic spring in the back and the rear end, the axle favors the front. All those are tricks and things that are not on the other makes. And all my buddies with their Mustangs and their Camaros that go hopping around, and they had to put their slapper bars on, and my car just hooked and booked,
Yeah.
And my Dart, it when I nail the throttle on that car, it gets separation. It don't squat. Screw that squat. That's a joke.
Yeah.
Well, it's a factory suspension underneath that car, and it's just it's the high performance 340 stuff. But Chrysler, people talking about how expensive it is. A Ford 9-inch cannot take the abuse of an 8 3/4, and you can modify a 9-inch to handle some of that. But the worst 8 3/4 is stronger than the best factory Ford 9-inch.
Yeah.
Everything about a Mopar is better. And that's when I started, as I learned it, going, why would you want something else? These are factory built race cars.
Well, I mean, when you look at Mopars, they were heavily engineered. It was like they put a lot of emphasis and a lot of money into their engineering department, and you could see it's on all corners of the car, and I also like their styling, because it's like the engineering started to come in the early 60s, and the body styles hadn't really caught up yet. They're still grandma looking cars, but all of a sudden they got a Max Wedge cross ram, they're stuffing in these grandma looking cars. And then 68 rolls around and it's like, holy crap. I don't know if I told you this, but I didn't tonight, but that 68, my dad's 68, when I bought the car from my dad, he handed me a bunch of paperwork on the car. He had registration cards and stuff all the way back. And there was one, so I was able to find the original owner, and I did like a people search online, and I was able to track him down, and I called the number just to see, and lady answers the phone, and she goes, I said, is such and such there, her husband, and she goes, no, he's at work right now. But she's like, what's this about? And I said, well, I have this car that he used to own, and I just wanted to get some background on it and stuff. And she goes, oh, what car was it? And I said a 68 Dodge Charger. And she goes, a blue one? And I go, yeah. And she goes, I remember that car. That car was awesome.
Nice.
But I remember them. They bought it. That car was actually built in 67. It's an early build car. And they were telling me that, like, when that 68 Charger hit the lots, it was like there was nothing on the road that looked like them. He says, it's like if a UFO was driving down the street all of a sudden, you just can't help but look and stare, because there was nothing like them. So it's
long and low and clean and
just
look like they're built for speed.
Right. I agree with Lunar on the Cuda. I love the 70 Cuda. I'm partial to those, probably because I own that one Barracuda, but I love a 70 Cuda.
I do too. 70. I still prefer the 71. I like the 4 headlights. I like the gills.
Yeah.
I like the gills on the fender for the the Cuda itself.
Yep.
And then I love the billboard. I love that screaming at you, come and get me. I'm a 340. I'm a 383. I'm a 440. And then the ultimate, I'm a Hemi.
Yeah.
Hey, Blake Gaddis.
Jason Fault.
Ed says, I think the 69 Charger 500 or Daytona is the pinnacle. I'll say the Daytona is the pinnacle. The 500 is definitely there, though.
Yeah.
They cleaned up the grill with that Coronet grill in there. They put the stainless caps on the A-pillars.
Yep.
The flush mounted rear glass. I mean, that is definitely a sweet ride. Now, the 69 500 was slated to be the only car that Dodge or Chrysler made that was standard with the 426 Hemi, but it did not come that way. You could get them that way, but they became standard with a Magnum.
Okay.
But they were slated standard Hemi. In fact, I can prove it to you because I have the book. There's the upholstery book.
Nice.
And then here's the the option, the data book.
Oh, nice.
When you go to the Charger, and what stinks is I got these books and they had gotten some wet on them when I got them, so the few pages got sticky, and you get what you get, right?
Right.
Where else are you going to find this stuff? Anyway, I'm going to find this page here, and it's just
right.
it's
What's
cool.
up, Joe? What's up, Jason? These guys are in there.
All right, well,
You got Brian in there too.
I'm gonna go ahead and head to bed.
All right,
okay,
Jake.
dude.
It is that time, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I got to wrap it up too and figure out dinner here pretty quick. Yeah, it's pretty late for you guys, right?
Yeah.
9:16.
9:15. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to find this thing here before we sign off. But yeah, that's
all right. Let's see in here. Joe's asking Chris, how's the car coming? Yeah. Chris says, I just want a 70 Roadrunner to clone a wing car. Jed said good night, Jacob.
You too, Jed.
And it's Machine says 68, 69 GTX, Super Bs, and all of the A12s. I like an A12 car, man. I like the Super Bs too, and of course GTXs and Roadrunners are high on my list.
all right. So here's the sad torn up page for the Charger 500
option.
Yeah.
The Hemi was standard.
Yeah, and it says standard engine for Charger 500 426 Hemi. Now,
That's awesome.
That is not what happened.
Yeah.
It ended up being the 440 Magnum, but there it is.
Yeah.
So, let me get it right there. I don't know if I get it. Good night, Jacoby Bacoby.
Good night, Poppy Woppy. Good night, Johnny Mopar.
Good night, Corn Dog.
Good night, Hoosier Garage. Good night, Just Mopar Joe. Good night, Mama. Good night, Ruben. Good night, Talking Mopars. Good night, Lunar. Good night, Ed's Machine, and everybody that decided to join us tonight. And I'm out of here.
Yeah, thanks for everybody hanging out.
Heck yeah.
Cool.
Good night. I'm in the bed.
All right, good night. Just Mopar. All right, Mopar people. The question of the night is, when's Tall John coming to pick up a Polly and still heads? ASAP. In other words, as soon as I can. So what's up, Joe? I'm trying to catch up on these things here real quick.
Sure.
Everybody, I'm super glad everybody's here now. And you guys missed a lot. We had all kinds of questions for Johnny and learned a lot about him and who he is. And hey, there's Jason. I see Jason.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Good to see you, Jason. Let's see. I'm probably missing somebody here, so I apologize for that. Man, look at all these comments I missed.
Joe's got parts for Chris's 72. I wonder what he's got.
Did you hear that, Chris? Oh, I see a good night. Good night, Chris, if you're going but night. Oh, no, maybe he's saying good night to Jacob. I don't know. Trying to catch up. It feels like the Waltons. But
All right.
one of the things I love about when he does his videos, and you get that little break in the middle. We haven't seen commercials for a while, Adam.
No.
Maybe you're losing. They're probably getting hard to find, I suppose. But anyhow, and I noticed that is Joe stealing some of your music for some of his videos. I get a taste of Who's Your Garage when I watch some of JMJ's stuff.
Just Mopar Joe is a copyright thief.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Joe.
Hey, I got his address, Joe, if you want to get after him.
Huh. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because, like, we're all obviously using what do you call epidemic sound, so sometimes I'll hear he'll have some music that I've played or I'll play, and I'm like, it sounds so familiar. Like, oh yeah, I got that song.
Yeah.
Because you go through like thousands, you're listening to thousands of these things, trying to find the best music, and sometimes it's still not that great. It's not that up to snuff,
Yeah.
You can't use the good stuff,
I have heard some of the stuff that Lunars has on some of Derek's stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I've heard it on Lunars first, so he stole it from you.
There you go.
So let's see.
Adam says Joe's ripping me off. Yes.
I have a load more commercials, but trying to do a string of vids where my watch time doesn't drop. They aren't super popular. The commercials aren't popular. That's the thing. What is it? I guess I like everything nobody likes because I love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you love it though because you remember it. I'd imagine a younger generation. It's like they don't have any. How would you say it? Like affection towards it, because it's like they didn't live it. Like that stuff, his commercials, it's like it reminds me of the 70s, I mean, I grew up as a little kid in the 70s, but I remember those commercials and them being like that, Yeah. And gosh, who was it? I think it was Jeremy from Shade Tree Vintage Auto. He got a car that was from Cal Worthington.
Oh yeah. And his dog Spot.
Yeah. You know what? That's Jeremy should have
played. My ears are turning red. Go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I wish it would have been cool if Jeremy had like the commercial, play inside of his video. That would have been so freaking sweet. But
I remember Joe put a video out. It was doing some of the painting on the Coronet, and I think Joe? I think I mentioned it to you. I heard that song on there playing, and all I could think of was the words. The sailor, what do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? And anyway, you told me where you got it from, and I found it. And I always thought maybe I'd put it on someday, but look at what Unfinished Project puts up here. He changed his name to Just Outlaw Joe.
I did remember seeing that somewhere. Nice. Yeah, Cal Worthington, dude. Yeah, it's so funny hearing that old school stuff,
Yeah, we had a guy in San Diego, Pete. No, it was Los Angeles area. Pete Ellis. What a great guy, Pete Ellis.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah,
the Ford dealer, and you get your great Ford buys.
Yeah,
that was kind of the jingle of it. Then they had a guy down in actually down in not Otay, Chula Vista. that was always on there with the dog. I guess he got in trouble with some weird stuff going on, but yeah, these little jingles that I still got them stuck in my head.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
because
a-
they would
I
just
was a
drill you
TV
with them.
junkie. When we first got cable TV, we'd get channel 11, KTLA. I think it's KTTV, and that channel 11.
I think
And
so.
you could see Get Smart like 6 times a day. Man, I
Yeah.
miss Get Smart.
I
And
love
all
that.
those commercials would come on.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll stand upon my head. And it was always a different animal. Remember, he'd be messing
Yeah.
with a lion.
Elephant, lion,
Yeah. It's Hal
tiger.
Worthington with his dog Spot.
Yeah.
And he had
Right.
like a bunch. There was a Cal Worthington Ford, Dodge, or Chrysler. I guess it was Dodge. Man, it was fun.
By the way, Jeremy from Shade Tree Vintage Auto is going to be at Matt's, and hopefully I'm not spilling the beans, but I don't think it's a secret. But he's going to bring out a bunch of cars for sale and a bunch of parts. So if you guys are looking for some parts and you're going to the Matt's, I suggest you reach out to Jeremy. He's also on Instagram and stuff. But he might have some parts that you need. He's going to be bringing me some parts too. So I'm pretty stoked to get those parts off of him.
So they have a swap meet there at the Mats.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so by the way, we should talk about that a little bit. If people don't know, the Mats is in Las Vegas. So it's a nice, I can't say it's a central location, but it's a central West Coast location. So if you're anywhere close to Las Vegas, it's worth going to. The facility is huge. There's going to be drag racing there. There's the swap meet section there. There's a vendor section there. And then you have a car show section. And it's all open. So when you get in there, you can go walk through the pits. You don't need a pit pass per se. You could just walk everywhere. And it's called Muscle Cars at the Strip. So you can invite all your Chevy and Ford buddies to it. But it is heavily, because it used to be Mopars at the Strip. So it is heavily Mopar intoxicating. So it's definitely worth coming to. But like I said, if you're able to go and you need some parts and I would definitely reach out to Jeremy because he's got a bunch of parts. So
we got Tales from the Junkyard. Good evening, everyone. Well, good evening, Tales from the Junkyard.
I haven't heard him for a long time.
Yeah, now we got looks like Lunar's going night, Brian. Oh, Miss Dust Devil Garage.
What's going on, Miss Dust Devil? Miss Brian?
Sherry. Let's see. I think that we're about caught up with all that. I think we ought to probably call it an evening too.
Yeah, I'm ready to turn in. My yawning's coming in to play.
Yeah, we're at 9:30 my time, and I've got a work day tomorrow too. So.
Oh, okay. Let's put John on the spot. Tail John, you going to the Mats? I think he meant Tall John.
Yeah, I think he did. No, I'm not going to be able to make it there. I mean, I will try, but as of now, I'm not making any plans.
Yeah, I think, I actually, I have high hopes that the YouTube channel will get big someday and actually generate enough revenue to do a lot of cool things. But one of those cool things I was kind of hopeful for last year when they were going to do the No Name Nationals, and it was like a couple of weeks apart from duct tape. I never said I'm going to go to No Name Nationals because it was just too much of a stretch, But in the back of my head, I was like, if this YouTube channel brings some money in, man, I'm going to go to both, But yeah, it didn't happen. But I think it's a good idea, like to just, if you like to go, try to make loose plans, don't commit too much to it. And then if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. Now I got family that lives in Vegas, so I would be able to come out there and have a place to stay and
cool.
And do all that. It's just a matter of last year I did so much running around, and I was here, I was there, I was over here. I mean, The
Yeah.
racing schedule was crazy. They're talking about maybe cutting it back a little bit. I'm happy about that. There's just too much. And
Yeah.
this year got really busy thanks to this goofy COVID garbage. And
Yeah.
hoping that maybe next year we get sort of past that a little bit,
Yeah. Hopefully.
So
thanks, Jamar.
Thank you for showing, man. Thank you for coming. Everybody, go check out Jonny Mopar's stuff. Tell all your friends. Get people. Don't subscribe if you don't like it. Subscribe if you like it. We want people to watch who want to watch our stuff. So, go check it out. See if you like it. And if you like it, man, definitely click that. It's free. It's free. And come back because there's always something new on Jonny's channel. They're always doing something. So come and check out Jonny Mopar. What do we have here with Jeremy? So what she's saying is you're definitely going to get the map.
That's how I took it too. Full commitment. John,
well,
thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and thanks for everybody that showed up. And yeah, if go check out my channel, and if you do like it, you feel free to subscribe. And if you don't, that's all good too. So, but I appreciate you guys all hanging out tonight. It was a good time.
Yeah, that's been a good night, and I think. Jonny's open for suggestions, just like I am, just like just about all of us are. If you got a good idea, shoot it at us, Don't be as scared.
Sure.
Don't be as scared, and, go and check it out. You're going to love his channel. I know you are. That is a Tall John Fun Shop guarantee right there. And Jonny, thank you for coming into the fun shop and hanging out with me tonight. It was fun. Jacob definitely liked it too. He was excited about it.
Well, thanks for having me, man. It was a good time. I had a blast.
Everybody, thank you for showing. Appreciate that. That's freaking cool as heck. Love every one of you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.